Welcome back. Take these moguls off so I can see better. Welcome back, cups and candles. I will quickly go over briefly. I don't have much time today. My thoughts on the market, some follow up on my previous recording, and the things that I posted about essentially, and give you my thoughts on what I think is going on with meme coins, Bitcoin, stocks. I'm not a geopolitical expert, but I kind of saw this entire war escalation as a bit of a nothing burger, and it would be kind of just noise in the market. And turns out, the dip that we saw was just almost like a technical correction. Accelerated obviously by headlines, and the recovery also accelerated by headlines. And so yeah, we'll quickly go over that today. I'll try to keep this even shorter than last time as I have somewhere to be soon. So I'm just going to quickly go over my thoughts on everything, and we'll see how the rest of the week progresses after this update. Hope you enjoy. Bitcoin. Always start with Bitcoin, the king daddy of all coins. What did we see unfold? Now, my last update, where were we? We were basically still in this downward trend. However, shortly after my stream, I believe it was somewhere in here, we got this kind of fake out or whatever. It's now evolved into more of a bigger channel of sorts, which is totally fine and well within reason of a corrective structure. So we got this little washout. This chart is not updated actually. I'm going to go to the heck is it? Let's go to this chart. This one I actually have more drawings on, more recent drawings. Okay, so what did we see? First of all, Bitcoin came down, anchored VWAP from the very low, and it came and tested that, which I honestly think is very common. Very, very common. It also came and tested this 70% retracement / if you want to take the fib pull from this low, actually, it's basically like it just did a swing failure of the golden pocket, but for accuracy's sake, you got the VWAP test and this 70% retracement of this fib pull. Not my favorite pivot pull, but bit of confluence there. And so yeah, what we saw is this corrective structure basically, and we've come down, tested the anchor VWAP. This is when Trump comes out saying something positive regarding the situation with Israel, Iran, and we get this huge bounce in Bitcoin, which resulted in obviously a huge bounce in all of the other coins, especially the ones that I'm tracking, which are WIF, MOG, NIL, and ETH. I like the three that I'm following at the moment. The most important, at least to me. I'm holding these three or these four mainly. So yeah, that's that. We're still within this flagging kind of structure. Probably going to keep chopping around. We've got so far on this extension, time extension, we're only as far as the 618. Usually corrections take at least a 1-to-1, so we might still chop around for longer. Who knows? Up until the 6th of July, right? That's when the 1-to-1 occurs. It could break out sooner than that, obviously. But rule of thumb is we want to kind of have the expectation that a 1-to-1 could be on the cards here, which would mean possibly something like this, come back down, create a higher low, and then go. This would, trap a lot of people thinking it's a breakout, longing too early, and would squeeze out all of the shorts that built up here. So people was shorting down here like a bunch of morons. This would be, oh, it's breaking out, let's go long. Everyone's either going to get stopped out or liquidated on this pullback into what would probably be a higher low or possibly a double bottom. But, you know, let's be a bit more optimistic and say, okay, we get a retest of 101 and then it takes off, creates more liquidity, right? Thinking in the sense of like a market maker, what they would do, and that would be, you know, let's just generate as much liquidity as possible by liquidating all the highly leveraged traders. So that's kind of what I'm thinking could happen, which could result in, you know, some of these moves pulling back to a little bit before taking off. Like, you know, we could see the same, right? We could see this on MOG and then go. So don't, you know, just heed caution with leverage on these trades. Leverage is really the biggest thing that's caused me problems in my trading journey. Is just using too much leverage has always been the cause of me losing a ton of money, honestly. That's just unfortunately the way you learn the hard way. If you can't get a precise entry, like for example this low, which was a perfect golden pocket retest of this, if you say this pivot to this pivot, I mean, we came down, we're still in this trend, we've finally tested this. I don't think it just goes and breaks out now. I do think we get this high, and if this coincides with that, the Bitcoin analysis I just told you about, then we get a pullback, just like the other one. You know, Bitcoin will pull back to 101. This will probably pull back into this region, right? So don't get overzealous and long just yet, you know, because you might get a 20% pullback. And this could probably be coinciding with some other headline, right? Like right now, the headlines are super all over the place, volatile. One day it's good news, one day it's bad news. So don't get too euphoric right now, right? Yes, it's going back up, but like chill out. You know, at least wait for a break in retest or a breakout, clean breakout if you're going to do it. But like, you know, preferably you long support if you're going to long, especially if you're using leverage, because then you have an area where you can say I'm wrong and get out with very little space of error or margin for error, right? And that's kind of what you want to do. Now, my thoughts is after this breakout, we do a measured move. Is this a measured move? Yeah. So this measured move breaks out. We come when we test this 1.414. Like this would be a huge move, right? This would coincide with Ethereum running to 6.5K. Okay, that's my base case. So obviously it's not going to happen in a single day. This is going to probably take weeks. You know, it's going to be something like this structure. And then we get a D pullback, possibly here, possibly a 382. Right, we've got, so we could either pull back, depends on where you take the pull, but like I would probably do 2 fib pulls, one from this low and one from this low, just to sort of see where you get the first 382 reaction if we get one. But I would actually be keeping my eye on Ethereum anyway. This chart, I wouldn't be interested in. I'm not interested in the TA on this so much so as what happens on Ethereum, because I have a bit more of a better idea of what's going to happen on Ethereum just based off what happened in the previous cycle. Okay, what happened on Ethereum, I'll explain to you. But essentially, what I'm expecting is this pullback, possibly as deep as here, and then a final run up into this region, possibly a little bit higher, which would be up into here. You know, this is like another 130%. But again, this all depends on where Ethereum is trading. If Ethereum is trading at my target, where I'm expecting to get out, then I would get out here. If Ethereum is still, you know, dilly-dallying and it's not even near my take profit and MOG's already up here, then I could expect higher on MOG. All right, so that's kind of how I'm treating this. But if Ethereum's at 12 and a half, I'm selling all my MOG. Okay, that's my plan. And my plan is to basically ride it up to here, take profit, wait for the dump, buy back, last leg, and then maybe go short. Okay? Even though shorting's haram, we're traders at the end of the day. We love volatility. So that's kind of my expectation on MOG. So let's go back to Ethereum, which I'm extremely bullish on. This fractal is actually Bitcoin from the very low where, the start of this bull run. Okay. We could see something similar. All right. We are currently seeing something similar. All right. Obviously, this part of the price action is different, but you get the run up, then we get the first consolidation, come in. We do like a sideways range, then we do a dump to scare everybody, and then we start building market structure, get a big breakout, start rallying. There'll be a pullback at the previous all-time high. Obviously, it's not going to just blast through straight away. It's going to probably come up, swing failure or reject, come back, get a pullback, go up aggressively, and then this is where I think we get a 6.5K. which is the 1.414, and pull back into the 382 to retest the high. So we get the break, the retest, which should probably take a month or two for the retest, and then we get this final leg up into at least 11,000, 12,500. Okay, that's kind of my expectation, and this is what happened here. Okay, we got the pullback, then we got the break. This is the 1.414, the retest, and then the rally to all-time high golden pocket before this pullback, double top, and then the bear market. Okay, base case for me. That's what I'm expecting with Ethereum. I've documented this in the last video, but without this extra price action. So there's that. Okay, now just in case anyone's wondering, I also have my Telegram channel where I post some updates. Okay, and I was basically calling for saying that we've come down, we've tested this 382 anchored VWAP. This was critical support 97,638, which we came down, and where was the low on Bitcoin, for argument's sake, on this flush? The exact low was 98,125. All right, 98,125. I was saying that this level, I wouldn't want to see it drop below that, and there was many reasons for that. We didn't drop below that because we basically held the anchored VWAP, so that was nice to see. There was also in the order books, you could see there was a lot of orders at 98K, willing to hold the price up. And then I said, that should be the low, green week ahead, and just jokingly said manifesting green, and that was on Sunday. Monday open, and what do you know? We get a lot of green. My coins are up 26% for MOG, 20% on WIF. Ethereum's up 9%. Okay, so we kind of got the reaction I was expecting. Back to the charts real quick. Okay, so there's that. Where the heck? Oh, technical issue here. There we go. Wasn't showing my screen for a sec. Okay, so let's have a quick look at WIF. Kind of what I'm expecting with WIF is once we break out of this downward channel, we get a rally up into the middle of this range, okay, and we'll probably sell off to come test the bottom of the range, and then eventually make our way up to the top of the range, and then again another rejection. What happens up here, who knows, because it depends on timeline, right? Like if this starts happening later in the year, in like October, when we're nearing the end of the cycle, or what I expect to be the end of the cycle, and you can sort of use Ethereum as a where Ethereum is trading is kind of, and the other aspects, right, where US dollar dominance is and all that kind of stuff to gauge where we're at. But if this is kind of occurring around that time, then I wouldn't expect a break of this to go any higher. This could just be a big triple top, and then we end up nuking all the way down to wherever, right? Like it could come a lot lower. However, you know, if this happens quickly, then there's a chance that we make new highs on WIF. But I'm not holding my breath. Again, we'll just see what happens at these levels. But for now, this is sort of the rough expectation, right? 1 wave, 2 waves, 3 waves, which is like a typical Elliott wave run up. And so, you know, expecting run up to here, 250%, and then pull back 47% or whatever, then another run up, another 230%, and then another pullback, right? From there, we'll see what happens, right? This could just do some shit like that, and that's the end of the market, okay? Again, remember, these are meme coins. These are not serious investments, and at the end of the day, these will all go down aggressively during bear markets. So that's kind of the rough plan with WIF for now. NIL. I like this project a lot. I think fundamentally it's really good. Now, the difficulty with these new listings is to figure out which chart to use, because there's obviously this coin list is listed on Binance and a bunch of other exchanges, Bybit, but like not all of them have the same price history, just because of, like, for example, this one opened at opened and closed the first candle a different range, created a different range where you could create a fib pull from. And so you know, I found that the HTX chart so far has been the most reliable. And why is that? Well, look where we finally got some support. All right, this thing's just been kind of trending down. We got an ABC correction here from the listing. We got A, B, C into golden pocket, which is not unusual, right? I'm pretty sure this is this logarithmic golden pocket. Okay, so where do I think this could run to? Well, I would just base case is golden pocket, right? The problem is, where do you take your fib pull? Are we going low, high to low from that pivot and then doing this extension? Or am I doing this extension, which is even higher up, right? Like, this could potentially, in a bull market, because there's no chart history, if this goes into price discovery, you know, this could be at least a 21x up into $6.45. And that's kind of, okay, most optimistic. I mean, look, it could even get to the 786, which is even more ambitious, right? Like $9. That's if we're using this range fib pull, right? If we decide to go a bit more conservative, and we could check the reactions at these levels, right? We could say, all right, $3.59. Oh, sorry, that's messed up. Let me try this again. Okay, that's better. So we'd say from here to here would be 12x to $3.63, and then 15x to $4.55, possibly. That's more of a conservative fib pull. Okay, so we could potentially do that. You could even do trend-based fib and see what happens there. Okay, and here's a trick that I learned. You can kind of figure out the low of where the low is going to be by taking a fib pull trend-based, and then you just basically, you have these settings on, right? The 61865, and you take the fib all the way down until you get this golden pocket lining up at the very high. Then you know roughly, okay, where the low is going to be for this, right? Anyway, if we decide to go even more ambitious with this, then you could say this is going to do a 53x up into $15.50, right? But again, we need to see what happens. Just these are all different price levels to keep an eye on. So, you know, you can basically do this and golden pocket, log scale, golden pocket, log scale, and then see what reactions occur at all of these price levels. Right? If you just see price get up here and do nothing, it just keeps going, then okay, we know this was the wrong fib pull and you can just remove it from the chart. If you see, and then you see a huge wick off that, that's probably a time to take profit and get out, you know, because it's likely going to continue selling off. Or, you know, if you're in a long trade, you move your stops up and you just trail, you know, you got to have a way of managing the downside risk. Because again, as much as I love this project, altcoins just don't tend to do well in bear markets. And we have to always keep in mind that there is always going to be some form of a bear market, at least historically speaking. Okay, I think that covers those coins. Popcat's doing pretty poorly, I'm not gonna lie. I know I covered this in the past. This sold off a little, like very aggressively, a lot more than I expected. I thought it would hold here, but it looks like it's come down to test this point of control and the 786 of this entire range. To be fair, I kind of expected that, but like a long time ago. And once it kind of went up here, I did not think it was going to come back to test this, but it did. So what do you know? Which is kind of this channel too came back to test this channel. So yeah, you know, I guess never have these deeper pullbacks off the cards. That can always happen, especially on these meme coins, because I mean, look at the size of these ranges. Are really big, you know. This is like a huge pullback of 70%, and then a rally of 370%, right? That's the reality of this coin, and because of the market cap is so small, you get a 4x move followed by, you know, a 65%, 63% pullback. So keep that in mind with stuff like Popcat. Is if you're trading leverage and you're not in a, you don't get in, like I was actually longing from down here, but screwed up. I overmanaged the trade and whatever. Anyway, me and perpetual futures don't get along very well at the moment. So I'm staying away from them until I can be bothered getting back into it. I much prefer just being in spot bags and chilling for now, just because the volatility sometimes is a little too much. And when you get in the weeds with leverage trading, you start clicking buttons a little too often. Next thing you know, you're over trading and you're losing all your money. Whereas like if I just had held spot bags, I'd have 10 times more money today by not getting crazy with the leverage trading. So I'm staying away from that for now, just because my quality of life goes up because I'm not stressed all the time, and I make more money in the long run. And you know, as long as you have a plan and you have time and patience, you can do really well in crypto without the need of leverage. I think people forget how leveraged this space already is, and that these moves, I mean, you do not see this in high cap traditional equities, right? Like you don't need leverage to make a ton of money if you can time these entries well and exits well. If you can get a 4x, 5x, and you can do that a few times and compound, I mean, obviously you're taking huge risk, but if you know what you're doing and you can time these entries and you're patient, you know, if this is a 5x and then if you had like managed to get out at this level, you know, and then just say if you were perfect trader and then you caught this low exactly, you've done a 5x, say you ride it up now back to previous all-time high, you do a 5x plus a 7.8x on the same amount of money. Say it was 10,000, you've turned that into 50, and then you turn that 50, you do another 8x on that, you turn that into 600. That's all you need, you know? There's no need for leverage, and you don't get liquidated on stuff like this. Obviously, you can't short without using, I guess, a little bit of margin, but you can always do a 1x short and keep the risk super low. if you wanted to play that game, if you want to play bi-directional trades. But if you're long, if you're in a bull market, you know, problem is timing and entries. This takes skill and time to learn and figure out, and obviously it's very easy to fuck up and like try buying a falling knife, for example. But yeah, I digress. Peanut as well, another shitcoin that nuked a little harder than I had liked, but it did come down into this 7-8. Holy crap, I've got too many drawings on here. It basically retraced this entire impulse into support. Which is pretty nasty correction, but I think this was a... Oh, there you go. That is a golden pocket on the log scale, and I believe a 786 on the linear. So you've got some decent confluence there, plus you've got this horizontal support. Downward channel support. Oh, down. Oh my god. There. Well, not quite. I'd probably try fixed range. Just doing this exercise here to show you how you can, you know, possibly find confluences. So it actually lost this value area high, and has come reclaimed it. Let's try to this low. Let's see if this changes. Oh, you know what? My settings are a little different. Let me change this back to 70. I was finding 75 worked really well on WIF. In terms of getting the ranges exact. But that's not the default setting. Okay, so 70, yeah, same thing. We've lost this value area high. Come in, wicked off this golden pocket, blah, blah, blah. And now is reclaiming, we're trying to reclaim it. Now, yeah, this looks like a falling wedge of sorts. I don't know about this coin. I don't know, it's such a shitty meme and it's like not relevant anymore. So in terms of mind share and attention, doesn't really have it. It probably still does well, you know, we'll see. The person shilling this is the bonk guy. So, you know, he has a huge amount of followers and they tend to follow him into trades. But yeah, I'm again, I'm just going to stick with WIF. It's listed in more places. It doesn't have this like temporary narrative like Peanut did. You know, it's dog with hat. It's kind of just stupid and whatever. I think this just based off that, and it was one of the sort of original memes that came out during this cycle. I think it does well. Same with MOG. You know, MOG culture wise and attention wise, it's still there. People love it. There's a huge community and it's nice technical setup, and it kind of tracks Ethereum a lot. And it's sort of like a leverage play on it. Obviously today it's not reflecting that, but yesterday it did. You know, Ethereum went up. I'm just gonna hide this. Ethereum, sheesh, one sec. Ethereum went up from here to here, right? Has gone up 16.7%, whereas MOG off the low went up 30-40%. So, you know what I'm saying? Like it's kind of like a leveraged version of ETH. What else? Quickly look at ETH BTC ratio, and then I have to get going. Basically, it found support at the 6.5. Look at that. How perfect is that technical respect? So in terms of the ratio, right? What I previously discussed, I'm just gonna get rid of this range. Price came down, tested the 70% retracement, which was this support back here, which is where we rallied off, right? So we've retraced the entire thing and bounced off the same level. We've come up and back tested this level, which was back tested here, back tested in, you know, on the 6.5. Okay, so we could see the similar thing, right? We could see a double, like if that theory of fake out occurring before a breakout, we could see this, right? Run up again, pull back, frustrate everybody, and then the real rally starts. Bitcoin rips, Ethereum rips, Bitcoin rips, Ethereum rips, Bitcoin rips, Ethereum rips, tops out, and that's the top, right? Like, which would be, this is somewhere in August. That kind of lines up. This could potentially happen, and then we get the distribution. And Ethereum dumps again. All right, that's that. I don't really have any much more to add today to that. Aside from, I guess we didn't cover any stocks, so I'll quickly do that. Palantir, I guess I was wrong about it topping out here. It didn't. But it's been grinding up slowly. Now, maybe 160 is the high. I did mention that that's a technical level to eye on. I sold all mine around here. It hasn't done a whole lot since then. Maybe we get this. I don't know. If there's some FUD about it or bad news. If not, maybe it just keeps going higher, because it is like fundamentally a lot of big contracts and whatnot. A lot of insider buying in the government. So, you know, it's possible that this just keeps going higher. I just feel like it's overvalued, so I'm not touching it. That's why I sold. Again, could be wrong. SOUN still consolidating in this channel and has this, you know, invest head and shoulders structure still going. You know, came down, tested the value area low, now it's bouncing back. Just think it's a game of patience, right? We just need to wait for this to run. You know, and I think this is the first target for me is $56. I know it sounds crazy, 5x on a stock, but again, full-blown hype on low cap stocks. When the IWM runs, then we could see that. Okay, we need to wait for IWM to break this high, pretty much, and that's when like the full, I think, the mania in terms of low caps should begin. This stock is a piece of shit. I hate this stock. It really has not performed well. Unfortunately, it's just been down only. You know, so unfortunately, Soluna. I don't know if this is gonna do well. This has just become dust for me. I unfortunately bought it and just held it. And I didn't use good risk management on this. Unfortunately, it's my own fault. Learned my lesson. It is what it is. TerraWolf, nice bounce today. You know, got a 618 retracement, nice bounce. We'll see what happens with that. IREN looking pretty good. You know, it's almost back at previous highs, which this actually kind of looks like a flagging pattern of sorts. So, you know, if this is a flag, we could say potential. I mean, it's kind of an ugly flag, but for argument's sake, let's say this is the flag pole. Then, you know, this would lead us up to this level. $100, $200, which, I mean, sheesh. I hope so. I hope so. That's, again, people think this is unrealistic, but at the end of the day, these are small cap stocks, and when the full-blown mania begins, this is a Bitcoin miner / AI HPC data center play. And so there's two strong narratives that could do well. Same with RIOT, you know, they're kind of eventually going to get into that space, the AI HPC hosting. That's what their focus is. They decided to not expand to 100 exahash and have decided to focus their energy, the rest of their megawatt power, on AI HPC, which, again, very strong narrative, right? If you've been sleeping under a rock, AI is the thing to focus your energy on, I think, in terms of the next 5 to 10 years, in terms of technological revolution. There's going to be tons of demand for it. It's only getting better. And so in terms of an investment, that's really where I feel like you should be putting your focus on, trying to find the best companies. So that's where I focus most of my capital, in terms of I want that asymmetric upside, and I feel like AI and crypto are the places to get that. Okay, that's it. I got nothing else to add. Coinbase looks good. Well, Circle's pulling back a fair bit today. This really went crazy. This is like the IPO. Circle IPO. It's done a 1-to-1 now and is now selling off. I don't know where I would buy this, but you know, if I were interested, I'm not really interested just because I don't know. I just don't know much about the company at the moment. I'd have to do more research and to develop some conviction on it. But I think this was a golden pocket something. It's hard with these new listings, honestly. It's really hard to know. Okay, so from the gap, we've got the 786. Yeah, we've got 786 on the gap. And then yeah, we'll see where this capitulates. I mean, it's too. I can't buy this unless. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe this holds. Who knows? It's a decent pullback today. It was just going insane. This entire run is like from this low, 180%. So yeah, we'll see what happens. I feel like we get a pullback to the VWAP, at least $174. There's probably some good confluence there, you know. Oh, what do you know? 178. So yeah, that would be my first point of interest, I guess. Not interested otherwise. Or here, which is, let's say this low, probably some confluence there. Oh, there you go. Yes, the first point of interest would probably be 176 and then 160 if you were looking for an entry if you're bullish on this stock. Aside from that, though, I'm not. I personally just feel like this ran up too fast, too hard, and I don't know if I can bring myself to buy something that's gone up this fast, this quickly. I'm not interested in buying high too much, but yeah, I mean, do what you want. It's your money. Maybe I'm wrong and this is an obvious buy opportunity because again, like this could run up to $483. You know, with the 1.618, this is where I'd be extremely cautious. If it dropped again to here and then ran up, it's a nice trade. All right. Till next time. Safe trading, happy trading. Peace.